Hello, dear Blood Bowl coaches around the world, and welcome you in the next Tell Us Not video. I'm Henry Snotson, your trusty presenter, and we are here to see what happened during round 2 of the 7th season of the Snot League. BC Bone Cruncher clearly had no patience after their first round win. They practically stormed the field of the Dobkins, catching the Dust Goblins fresh off their victory. A bold move, but one that paid off. Right from the start, the Ogres knew how to handle their pint-sized opponents. The game began with a bang, literally, as one of the Yetis smashed a massive Ushabti into rubble, setting the tone for the match. Both teams immediately shifted focus to removing each other's smaller players from the field. Enter Bomber Dribblesnot. The mercenary goblin turned the chaos up a notch, launching bomb after bomb into the Dobkins' ranks. Fans held their breath when a giant stone scorpion caught one midair. Sadly, the poor creature had no idea what to do with it before vanishing in a glorious explosion. Despite these setbacks, the Dobkins managed to dislodge the ball from a nobler's hands. But then came Billy Bobby, an ogre who grabbed the ball and began a determined march to the end zone. And we all know, once an ogre gets hold of the ball, getting it back is next to impossible. Surprisingly, the ref allowed Bomber to stay for the second half, much to the Dobkins' dismay. Both teams entered the second half with nearly full rosters, though not for long. The field soon became a graveyard for minor players. A standout moment? Harry Snotson, no relation, I swear, danced through the chaos, putting relentless pressure on the ball before meeting his unfortunate end, skewered on a scorpion's tail. As the match wore on, the field, now slick with blood, became almost impossible to handle. In the final moments, the Ogre's sniper tried to load the ball into his makeshift cannon for a long-range touchdown. Sadly, he ran out of breath before reaching it, and the game ended with the Ogres victorious. With a second win under their belt, the Ogres now sit at the top of the leaderboard with a perfect record. Will they maintain this punishing pace? Fate continues to deal a harsh hand to the judges of Dread. Entering their second match against the relentless Telesnoobies, the Spartans were already at a significant disadvantage. Missing many key players from their lineup, the judges were weakened enough to deny the Imps any compensatory inducements, which meant no bribes. Gifts for the referee crew. From the outset, the judges struggled against the impish horde's constant fouls and dirty tricks. But even battered and bruised, the indomitable Spartan spirit burned bright. Against all odds, they managed to take an early lead. The referee mysteriously ignored the tools that Imps brought onto the pitch, leaving the judges to fend for themselves. And that only encourages the Telesnoobies to bring even more good stuff. The infamous Steamroller entered the fray. It plowed through the Spartan ranks with brutal efficiency, flattening player after player. The judges could do little but watch as their numbers dwindled, leaving no one on the pitch to contest the Imps' march to a second touchdown. For the Judge of Dread, this game was more than a loss. It was a massacre. The few Spartans who survived will need extensive therapy, both physical and mental, to recover in time for their next match. And some of them will probably have to retire, leaving their team even more weakened. An exciting clash unfolded as the GKS Shambani Supremes faced off against the Deep Sea Lurkers. It was a primal battle of jungle fury versus oceanic power. From the get-go, the Supremes' gorillas struggled to handle the elusive sand ifrits, whose slippery nature made them nearly impossible to grab or push. Adding to their woes, their veteran, Eek Punchairon, fell to a devastating blow from Cake's mighty pincers. The primates' offensive strategy fell apart. Gorillas and orangutans were held back by the towering crabs, while the chimpanzees attempted to push forward. However, the swift and determined lizards of the lurkers intercepted their efforts. After a short but fierce battle for control of the ball, one nimble lizard snatched it up and passed it seamlessly mid-stride to another, leaving the apes with nothing to do but wave goodbye as their opponent scored the game's first touchdown. The Supremes didn't take this lightly. Their frustration turned into aggression as they targeted the Lurkers' players with mixed results. The second half saw the Lurkers start sluggishly. Both crabs appeared lost in thought, and the sand ifrits, so effective earlier, finally succumbed to the relentless attacks of the primates. Employing the tried-and-true strategy of remove the problem, the Supremes cleared their opposition and took control. They seized the ball and stalled at the goal line, aiming to burn precious time off the clock. However, they seemed to forget the incredible speed of the Lurkers' lizards, The swift counterattack saw the ball stolen back, though the stealer, Estes, became the immediate focus of a jungle-fueled frenzy. In the chaos, the Supremes failed to catch yet another lizard that slips in and snatched the ball right before their eyes and bowled downfield as far as he could. This match delivered a vital lesson for the ages. Stalling is risky, especially against a team that can outpace you. The Supremes leave the pitch wiser, but defeated, while the Lurkers bask in their victory, proving once again that speed and cunning often win the day. The final group, a match brought us a surprisingly brutal showdown between Ogre Sparkles and Isha's Revenge. This clash of two magical all-female teams caused the stands to fill to the brim with male spectators, who were undoubtedly there to admire the gameplay. Right? The elves of Isha's Revenge initially pushed hard against the agile defense of the Sparkles. However, their foes quickly shifted tactics, focusing on sheer elimination. Several elves were unceremoniously ejected into the arms of the appreciative crowd. The momentum shifted dramatically when the Great Sylph delivered a devastating blow, crushing the spider-like Shovatai as if she were, well, a bug. Capitalizing on the ensuing chaos, a nimble Naiad darted forward with the ball, securing the first touchdown for the Isha's Revenge. But the Aijin weren't about to let that slide. Showing off their trademark speed and coordination, they scored an equalizer just before halftime. The Sparkles took the offensive in the second half, skillfully avoiding contact wherever possible. Acorn the Fairy attempted to intercept their advance, but only managed to bounce off the ball carrier, flight or by, allowing the Sparkles to pull ahead 2-1. Desperate to level the playing field, Isha's Revenge resorted to riskier plays. An ill-fated long pass led to confusion in midfield, but just as it seemed like the elves might recover, a Naiad spectacularly face-planted. The Sparkles seized the opportunity, extending their lead with a third touchdown. The Feywild Sparkles strike again, leaving another team dazzled and defeated 3-1. Sure, their magic plays a role, but let's not underestimate the power of distraction. Seems their opponents spend more time staring at their beauty than watching the ball. Now let's dive into Group B with an unforgettable clash between the murderous kangaroos and the Half of Nothing. Fun fact, the coach of Half of Nothing is no stranger to the Lumbrian scene, having previously managed another team from the region. However, this time, they're leading half-elves, who seem to be as unpredictable as they are determined. Things began innocently enough when the half-elves, hoping to repair their brutal reputation from last round, brought along renowned pastry chef Cindy Peawhistle. The delightful halfling treated everyone to her world-famous cakes. It was all smiles and sweetness, until the enormous Yowie, David Tarl, tried to grab his slice. In a tragic twist of clumsiness, the towering beast not only flattened his cake, but also poor Cindy herself. The half-elves were devastated, tears were shed, hearts broken. But then, the switch flipped once again. Their grief turned to rage, and they chose violence. The kangaroos managed a touchdown just before halftime, largely because the half-elves were too busy dismantling their backline in what can only be described as a precision rampage. The second half kicked off with a brutal group foul on David Tarl himself, sending him straight to the medical tent. Not long after, the bench began to fill with more Lumbrians nursing injuries. The elves bashed their way into the end zone, but they didn't account for Ayla Rithen's fearless leap into their cage. The star kangaroo delivered a powerful punch to knock the ball loose, but it landed her right in the middle of a mob of furious half-elves. Ouch! As the match wore on, the elves, now glowing red with fury, began launching reckless attacks. In one particularly brutal moment, Zoe Idner collided with a koala mid-charge, resulting in the first live-recorded death by koala in league history. In a desperate attempt to hold on to the tie, the kangaroos tried to punt the ball as far as possible, but a fumbled pass sealed their fate. Half of Nothing snatched up the opportunity and secured a hard-fought victory. The final moments saw the last remaining koala, Hayden Rayson, valiantly attempting to chase down the running half-elves. Sadly, he tripped and face-planted into the turf, proving that even puffy fur can't cushion all faults. Lesson of the match? If the elves come bearing cake and goodwill, maybe, just maybe, don't squash it in front of their eyes. I have to admit, some matchups in this league never cease to surprise me. Take this one, Weatherton Inclements versus the Iron Wolves. When you pit Chaos Warriors against fiery elementals, you'd expect an intensely brutal and, well, chaotic game. Yet what we got was shockingly tame, apart from one injury quickly patched up by the medics. The Kurgan Warriors showcased an impressive ability to manage their fiery opponents, keeping things cool when the flames got too intense. One standout moment came when Thunder, one of the air elementals, tried to make a break for it with the ball, but was swiftly caught by the Chaos Warriors. It seems the Wolves enjoy catching the wind. A measured and uneventful score of 1-0 sealed this unexpectedly calm match. But don't be fooled. It's clear both teams are saving their strength for the fierce challenges that await in their next games. Let's move on to the next clash! Witchy and We Know It faced their second elemental team of the season, and oh, what a world of difference it was. In this match, the Elven Witches ran headfirst into an actual wall, the immovable might of the Grim Gemstones. From the very start, the Stone Colossi trapped the elves in a relentless cage, cutting off their usual escape routes and pummeling them with crushing blows. There were no flames to dodge this time, just an avalanche of bruises handed out by towering stone fists. The witches, so used to dancing past their enemies, found themselves grounded, literally. In the second half, the elves desperately tried to mount a comeback. For a moment, it looked like they'd finally broken through the Earthborn defense. Ruthgronf slipped past the golems, ball in hand, with an open field ahead. But instead of focusing on the finish line, Ruth kept glancing back at her pursuers, and wham! Down she went! Not only did this tragic fall end her promising career, but it also dashed her team's hopes of an equalizer. If that wasn't enough, things took a darker turn. Opal, one of the massive Earth Elemental, literally buried Sophie Farshadow alive beneath the pitch. Despite the elf team's frantic protests, the referee, who must have conveniently blinked, saw nothing wrong. Moments later, Topaz pulled the exact same stunt, and again, the official shrugged it off as part of the game. When the dust settled, the match ended 1-0 for the Grim Gemstones, who proved that sometimes being on good terms with the referees can be just as effective as brute strength. Joseph Moranian and his intergalactic team of kobolds faced a formidable challenge from the Defiance Border Princes. And honestly, who could have guessed that Border Princes would be good at defending borders? Forgive the pun, I just couldn't help myself. Orange Squad had their hands full with the nimble little lizards, but pressed on relentlessly. One of the oversized troglodytes tried heroically to stop the advance, but ended up slipping and performing a rather graceful pirouette, leaving an open path for the princes to secure the first touchdown. This unexpected success gave the Defiance a massive boost, and when the kobolds attempted a quick attack along the left flank, the princes snatched that tiny lizard before it could even think about equalizing the score. I have no idea what was said in Moranian's halftime pep talk, but the troglodytes seemed to still be thinking it through well into the second half. Despite the downpour that drenched the pitch, the kobolds couldn't fully capitalize on their superior speed and agility. The battle for ball control became a comedy of errors as players desperately tried and failed to hold onto the slippery ball for more than 5 seconds. Finally, a kobold broke free, launched like a slingshot, and looked set to equalize. But just as the crowd braced for the inevitable one of the Border Princess's assassins darted in to make the play of the match, catching the tiny kobold just inches from glory. And as for the poor troglodyte in pursuit, well, he hit the deck so hard on the soaked turf you'd think he was auditioning for a new slip and slide competition. Final score, 1-0 for the Border Princes in a chaotic and wild finish of round 2. A lesson for all teams out there. Sometimes all it takes to win is a good pair of cleats and the ability to stay on your feet. And with that, we're wrapping up for now. We'll see you all again in about 3 weeks. Why, you ask? Well, it's the holidays, of course. And immediately after that, Winter Cup in Warsaw! Spots are still open, so don't miss your chance to sign up for the biggest Blood Bowl tournament in this part of Europe. You can bet we'll be there, so come say hello! From all of us here at Snot, Have a happy, healthy, and block-filled holiday season. See you in the new year. Hey!